I'm very, very single, and that's why I hated how much I loved this anime that we're gonna talk about today.
アトラクションもあるから乗りたいし、アスカのミニパフォーマンスも。
The fragrant flower blooms with dignity. Yeah, that's the name of the show, and it's all about that gushy, gooey, overly touchy-feely, and borderline cringe teenage romance. In here, we're gonna see Rintaro Sugumi, this scary-looking dude who does things like this.
こいつらなんかしたんすか?
And we're also gonna see this cute girl called Kaoruko Waguri, who talks like this.
ドキドキしただけです。
Oh, soon enough, these two are gonna fall in love and do things like this. Things are about to get hella cheesy, so let's just get into it. The first episode of the anime kicks off with Rintaro's friends being cornered by some assholes from another school. These friends are the emotional redhead Shohei Usami, the incredibly emo-looking Saku Natsusawa, and the sweet and kind Ayato Yorita. Fortunately for them, their buddy Rintaro shows up and scares off these bullies, so the gang heads to their school, Chidori Public High School. The thing about Chidori is, it's mostly full of delinquents and idiots. What's worse, across the street is Kikyo Private Academy Girls High School, a school full of posh girls that won't even look at the likes of Rintaro and his friends. Anyway, Rintaro has to help his mom Kyoko Sugumi after school. Their family runs a bakery and Rintaro helps out now and then. And it's at the bakery that Rintaro meets Kaoruko Waguri for the first time. Waguri is very cute, loves food, and runs off when Rintaro looks at her. That'll kill a guy's confidence! The next day at school, all Rintaro can think about is Waguri running off like that, and he blames himself for it. Why? Because all of his life, people have told Rintaro that he looks really scary as hell. Which is rude, by the way. Anyway, the poor guy thinks about it all day, even when he's back home. That's when Kyoko bursts into his room. Waguri is here, and she wants to see Rintaro. So, Rintaro sits down with Waguri to share some cake. Waguri then apologizes for running off the day before. She says she got flustered. Remember this moment. Anyway, the two walk, and Rintaro realizes that Waguri doesn't think he's scary at all, which is a first. Anyway, after Waguri leaves, Rintaro thinks about how everyone has always judged him for looking scary, and it's seriously affected how Rintaro sees himself. That's when Kyoko bursts into Rintaro's room. Waguri is in trouble. Turns out, the guys that Rintaro scared off at the start of the episode are messing with Waguri, and they're talking all sorts of about Rintaro. Waguri tells them to piss off, so they try punching her, but Rintaro saves her and scares the bastards off again. After a cute moment of Waguri treating his wound, Rintaro and Waguri get back home safely, and she's clearly got a thing for Rintaro. But the real shock comes the next day at school, because Rintaro sees that Waguri is actually a student at Kikyo High School. Let the drama begin! The next episode sees Rintaro spending all day thinking about Waguri. But when his friends talk about how insufferable Kikyo girls are, Rintaro knows he doesn't have a chance with Waguri. He thinks she probably wants nothing to do with him now that she knows he's from Chidori. So, when school ends, Rintaro is stunned to see Waguri waiting outside Chidori, and every single guy from Chidori is just as surprised. Usami is mad about Waguri being there, and he tries asking Waguri who she's waiting for. But before Waguri can say anything, her friends Ayu and Suzuka show up. They grab Waguri and take her back to Kikyo, leaving Rintaro confused as hell. Seriously, what in the hell is going on? After that, Rintaro goes to karaoke with his friends. Now, they don't know that Waguri was there to see Rintaro, and Rintaro considers telling them, but ends up deciding against it. Instead, he just sings his heart out with his friends. If only men ever talked about their feelings. Anyway, after karaoke, Rintaro heads to the bakery to find Waguri waiting for for him. They talk, and Waguri says she was waiting outside for Rintaro, but she had seriously misjudged how Chidori and Kikyo hate each other. They talk for a bit, and Rintaro leans a bit too much into the Kikyo hates Chidori narrative. This hurts Waguri, who gets up and leaves. God damn it, Rintaro! Realizing he's messed up, Rintaro asks Kyoko for advice. Mom to the rescue! Kyoko tells Rintaro that even though he hates being judged, he's been judging Waguri because she's from Kikyo. This realization hits Rintaro like a truck. He even punches himself. The next day, he's waiting outside Kikyo early in the morning and apologizes to Waguri. They both agree that they want to get to know each other better. Chidori and Kikyo be damned. This might be the start of something beautiful. The following episode sees Usami and Rintaro get some terrible news. They can't compete in the sports festival. Why? Because their grades suck. And the only way to participate in the sports fest is to get better grades. So, Usami does what he always does. He asks Saku for help. But Saku is like, no way, dude, and they have a bit of a fight. Usami and Rintaro try studying themselves at the library, but it's hopeless. They need Saku's help. So, Usami goes to get him, and that's when Rintaro sees Waguri at the library. Turns out, Waguri is top of her class, which makes Rintaro think they're even less compatible. So Rintaro studies outside, thinking how amazing Waguri is, when Waguri shows up to see him. They talk, and it turns out Waguri isn't from a rich family like the other girls at Kikyo. She's there on a scholarship because of her grades. Seeing this, Rintaro asks Waguri if she can teach him too. He needs good grades in his midterms. Waguri agrees to help him, and that's when her classmate and best friend Subaru shows up. Subaru is a typical Kikyo girl. She hates Rintaro because he's from Chidori, and drags Waguri away from him. That's when Rintaro's friends show up, and Usami apologizes for the way he spoke to Waguri the other day. Waguri apologizes back before she leaves with Subaru. Chidori and Kikyo students having a normal conversation. Who would have thought? After that, the boys go to study, while Subaru asks Waguri about Rintaro. Later that night, Waguri calls Rintaro, apologizing for Subaru being so mean. They agree to meet each other for a study session on Saturday, and agree to drop the formalities when talking to each other. That, my friends, is what we call progress. The next episode kicks off on Saturday. Rintaro is going on a study date with Waguri. They didn't call it a study date, but come on, what else do we call this? Anyway, they both show up early and head to a nice little cafe. After having their food, Waguri teaches Rintaro's stupid ass about math, and they basically spend all day doing that. Waguri even gives him her notebook to help study, and Rintaro is super grateful to her. But after Waguri leaves, Rintaro is confronted by Subaru. She wants to talk to Rintaro. Oh boy. So they talk at a coffee shop, and Subaru wants Rintaro to stop seeing Waguri. But it's not because she thinks he's a bad person or anything. Huh? You see, the teachers at Kikyo hate Chidori even more than the students, and Subaru doesn't want Waguri to get in trouble because she's hanging out with Rintaro. But why does Subaru care so much? Well, Waguri saved Subaru from bullies when they were kids, and Subaru has looked out for Waguri ever since. But Rintaro refuses to stop seeing Waguri. He doesn't care about the Chidori Kikyo bullshit. Damn straight! On his way home, Rintaro thinks about how much Subaru cares for Waguri, and he envies her. Anyway, some days go by, and suddenly the Chidori boys are getting their math exam scores. And wouldn't you know it, both Usami and Rintaro passed. Let's freaking go! Rintaro even scored pretty good grades, and he wants to text Waguri and thank her, but decides not to. Besides, Rintaro has bigger problems right now. Saku just discovered that Rintaro had Waguri's notebook. Busted! Episode 5 starts with Saku confronting Rintaro about the notebook, as well as asking why he hasn't told them about any of this. And Rintaro says he doesn't want to tell them. Damn, I respect his boundaries, but that was really cold of him. Of course, when Rintaro gets home, he feels like for talking to his friends like that. Anyway, he tells Waguri about his scores and thanks her for the help. And Waguri is super happy for him. Adorable! The next day, Saku and Rintaro are not speaking to each other at all. But Yorita and Usami manage to convince Saku to go easy on Rintaro. They're sure Rintaro will share everything with them when he's comfortable. Saku agrees, and the three head off for some ramen. Speaking of Rintaro, he's working at the bakery when Waguri makes a surprise visit. Kyoko immediately enters enters wingman mode, setting Rintaro up for a conversation with Waguri before dipping. She's so cool. So, Waguri congratulates Rintaro on his grades before buying a cake. Before she leaves, Waguri sees that Rintaro is sad and she cheers him up by saying he should eat more. This girl just loves food. Suddenly, Rintaro's mind is clear. He doesn't know it yet, but he's starting to develop feelings for Waguri. Later, Kyoko and Rintaro have dinner and they talk. Kyoko tells Rintaro she's super happy that he's trying so hard at school. Kyoko doesn't care about his grades as long as Rintaro is trying his best and enjoying life. That's enough for her. She is the GOAT. Meanwhile, Subaru meets Waguri at a park. Why? Because Subaru wants to talk to Waguri about Rintaro. Oh boy. The following episode starts with Subaru fessing up about telling Rintaro to stay away from Waguri. Why? Because she feels hella guilty about it. But instead of being mad, Waguri appreciates Subaru for it. She knows Subaru was just looking out for her. Aww. This makes Subaru cry, thinking that she's not good enough for Waguri. But Waguri reminds Subaru that she's always been a super kind person and says she loves her. That's a real friend right there. Subaru is in her feels now and she hugs Waguri. She then asks Waguri if she likes Rintaro, and Waguri says yes, duh. While the two friends walk home, Rintaro decides he needs to talk to Subaru about their last meeting. So he musters the courage to call Waguri and says he needs to talk to Subaru. So Waguri just hands the phone to Subaru. Awkward! Anyway, Rintaro asks Subaru if they can meet, and she tells him to meet her tomorrow after school. So they meet up and Rintaro gets right to it. Rintaro asks Subaru what he can do to make Subaru okay with him seeing Waguri. Why does he care? Well, he says it's because Subaru means so much to Waguri, he can't just ignore her best friend. This puts Subaru's heart at ease. Rintaro really is super kind. Subaru just tells Rintaro to meet Waguri away from their schools, and that should be enough. Hell, Subaru even offers to be Rintaro's friend, eventually. Maybe there is hope for Kikyo and Shidori after all. The next episode starts with Rintaro's friends noticing that Rintaro is acting really weird. So they do what normal friends do. They stalk him. They follow Rintaro and see that he's meeting with Subaru and Waguri. At first, they think he's just flirting with both of them, but then Rintaro says something crazy. He wants to tell his friends about Waguri. As Rintaro puts it, his friends were the first people to accept him, and he wants to trust them completely with everything. Waguri and Subaru are a-okay with this, while his friends are on the brink of tears. Why did they ever doubt Rintaro? Afterwards, Rintaro is walking the girls home when he gets confronted by some seriously shading-looking guys. Turns out, these guys are friends of the punks who were messing with Waguri. Those cowards called in backup, and these guys want to beat up Rintaro and mess with the girls. They make me sick. Unfortunately for them, that's when Rintaro's friends show up. They tell Rintaro to get the girls home safely while they deal with this. After Rintaro and the girls leave, Yorita proceeds to beat the living out of everyone single-handedly. He may be a sweet guy, but he's a monster when someone messes with his friends. The next day is the sports festival, and Rintaro is struggling to play well. Why? Because he can't focus without clearing things out with his friends first. So, Saku apologizes to Rintaro and says that he trusts Rintaro completely. This makes Rintaro cry a little bit, but in a good way. Now, the friends are reunited and Rintaro has his mojo back. He hits a home run and wins his team the game, sending his team to the finals. But more than that, he has his friends back, and nothing is more important than that. Episode 8 starts with Rintaro taking his friends to officially meet Subaru and Waguri. After Subaru apologizes for being mean to them before, and Saku apologizes for being mean to her, the girls give the boys some snacks as an apology gift. So, everyone digs into the snacks together, and it's a very successful hangout. Afterwards, they're all walking home when Waguri finally does it. She asks Rintaro out on a date. The day of the date arrives, and Rintaro is freaking out. Still, he meets up with Waguri, and they head over to the aquarium. Waguri wants to do everything, but her main focus is on the dolphin show. So, Rintaro and Waguri spend the entire day looking at fish, taking photos, and enjoying each other's company. But before they can go to the dolphin show, a little girl named Mika shows up. She's lost her parents. Waguri, being the angel she is, tells the girl to wait with Rintaro while she looks for her parents. While Waguri's looking for Mika's parents, Mika asks Rintaro if he and Waguri are dating. This kid isn't pulling her punches. Waguri then finds Mika's parents, and they thank Waguri and Rintaro. Before leaving, Mika tells Rintaro that he and Waguri would make a perfect couple. And later at the dolphin show, when Rintaro Rintaro asks how happy Waguri is, he realizes something. He can't deny his feelings anymore. Oh boy, let's go! The next episode starts with Rintaro showing up to class in a bad mood. Well, not really. Rintaro just can't get Waguri off his mind, and he doesn't know how to deal with it. That's when Usami asks if he and the boys can come over to Rintaro's home after school, and Rintaro agrees, which is a big deal. It's the first time his friends have come to his home. Rintaro's friends show up after school, find out Rintaro's family runs a bakery, and they love it. And the fun keeps piling on, because just then, Waguri and Subaru show up. Kyoko immediately invites them in for lunch too, and suddenly, it's a Kikyo Chidori dinner party. Everyone enjoys the food, and then an age-old question pops up. Why did Rintaro dye his hair and get his ears pierced? Yeah, he's not a natural blonde. So, Rintaro tells them about a foreign baker that inspired him as a child, and how that baker had blonde hair and ear piercings. Since Rintaro never had any friends in middle school, he wanted to look like that baker because that baker looked happy. This story moves everyone, and Usami says the kids in middle school were idiots for not being friends with Rintaro. Waguri agrees. They all think he's super kind. What they don't know is Kyoko was hearing the whole thing, and she's on the verge of tears. You see, Kyoko's not blonde either. She got her hair dyed to match Rintaro's hair. Ever since he was a kid, all Kyoko wanted was for Rintaro to find friends who see how kind her son is, and he's finally found them. Before she heads back to work, Rintaro thanks his mom, and it makes Kyoko cry. I love her so much! After dinner, the topic of studying comes up, so Waguri suggests that all 6 of them have a group study session. The next episode sees that group study session happen, and it's pretty standard stuff. Rintaro simps over how cute Waguri is, Usami is still an idiot, and Saku is way smarter than any of them realized. He's even smarter than the Kikyo girls. Anyway, this study session pays off. The guys pass their exams, meaning they get to spend their summer break doing whatever they want. Their teacher tells them to cherish these days. They go by faster than you think. Amen, brother. After school, Rintaro and his classmates decide to go bowling together. On the way to the bowling alley, they see the Kikyo girls, including Waguri, on the other side of the street, and Usami straight up asks Rintaro if he's dating Waguri. This flusters the hell out of Rintaro, and he's so distracted by this that he can't concentrate on bowling. Usami really threw the poor bastard off his game. Lucky for Rintaro, Yorita is there for him. Yorita tells Rintaro that dating is complicated, and no one really knows what it means. He just tells Rintaro to go with the flow and rely on his friends whenever he's confused. Yorita's advice helps Rintaro get his head back in the game, and he kills it at bowling. After that, Rintaro gets home only to get a text from Subaru. Waguri's birthday is on the 22nd of this month. Oh boy, here we go. With 2 weeks to go till Waguri's birthday, Rintaro has a serious problem. He doesn't know what to get her. In fact, all he knows is that she likes cakes. So he asks Kyoko what to do, and Kyoko comes up with a genius idea. Rintaro should ask his dad to teach him how to bake a cake. Now, I wouldn't blame you for thinking Rintaro doesn't have a dad, because I haven't mentioned the guy till now. But that's because he's a super cake nerd who's always working, to the point where he has to crawl up the stairs after work. But the second Rintaro mentions he wants to bake a cake, his dad is rejuvenated and begins showing his son the ropes. Unfortunately, baking the perfect cake is really hard, and Rintaro is exhausted. Meanwhile, Subaru is in her wingman bag. She makes sure Waguri is completely free on the 22nd and tells Rintaro to ask her out. Everyone, take notes. So, Rintaro asks her out on the 22nd and Waguri accepts. Rintaro then gets back to baking, and after putting in hella work, it's done. On the 22nd, Rintaro's dad gives his cake a passing grade, and he's ready to give it to Waguri. So Rintaro goes to meet her and hands over the cake. Waguri wants to open it now, so she takes Rintaro to a park. There, Waguri looks at the cake and she loves it. Until Rintaro tells her he was the one who made it, and then she loves it even more. After spending some time together, the two say goodbye, and Rintaro waits anxiously for Waguri's review. To absolutely no one's surprise, Waguri absolutely loves the cake. She calls Rintaro and thanks him for it. This motivates the hell out of him. He decides he'll be helping out with the bakery more in his summer break, and Rintaro's parents love it. It's just great vibes all around. I'm not used to to this much happiness in an anime. After that, summer break rolls around, and the gang is heading to the beach. They plan to spend the day messing around in the water before setting off some fireworks. Classic. After grabbing some food, they get to the beach, and everyone is having fun except Subaru. Something is bothering her. Waguri tells her to open up about it, so Subaru walks up to the guy and tells them the truth. You see, Subaru has always been uncomfortable around men because of all the things that happened in her past, but spending time with Rintaro and his friends has changed all that. Subaru says she doesn't feel like she belongs here, but that she wants to be friends with all of them. So, Saku kicks some water at her and says they're already friends. Usami, Yorita, and Rintaro agree. Suddenly, Subaru doesn't feel like she's a burden anymore. She finally accepts their friendship and starts enjoying herself. Beautiful! After the sun sets, the gang quickly runs out of fireworks. So, Waguri and Rintaro stay behind while the rest head off to buy some more. So, Rintaro and Waguri talk. As you do. Rintaro thanks Waguri. He's turned into a better person because of her. Waguri does the same. They keep talking. One thing leads to another, and then it happens. Rintaro says, "I love you!" Before Waguri, or me, can comprehend what happened, Usami and the others show up with more fireworks. Waguri and Rintaro don't get another chance to talk and end up going home. But on the way back, Rintaro decides he's not gonna leave it like this, so he calls Waguri. The final episode kicks off with Rintaro calling Waguri to apologize for putting her on the spot like that. But Waguri doesn't seem to mind at all, and they agree to go to the summer festival together. After having a jolly good time, they sit down to talk about their feelings. Ugh. Anyway, Rintaro basically says it all. How much he likes her, that she inspires him, and that he wants to be with her. Way to be subtle, my guy! And Waguri is not upset by any of this. Instead, she asks Rintaro if he remembers the first time they met. Rintaro remembers that moment from episode 1, but turns out that wasn't the first time they talked. You see, last winter, Waguri was really going through it. One day, she just happened to visit the Sugumi bakery and tried the cake. Because the cake was the first nice thing she had eaten in a while, Waguri started crying. And that's when Rintaro walked over and cheered her up. Since that day, Waguri has started visiting the bakery a couple times a month, always dressing up, hoping for a chance to talk to Rintaro. But it never happened, until that moment from episode 1. Waguri wasn't expecting it, so she got super flustered. That's why she ran off. And here I thought Rintaro scared her. We know what happened next. Waguri went back, treated Rintaro to cake, and the two started getting closer and closer. When she found out Rintaro was studying at Chidori, she wasn't sad at all. In fact, she was happy that they were so close. Waguri then stands up and says the magic words, "I love you too." Well, I guess that makes it official. They're a couple now. We then get a montage of what has to be the most successful relationship of all time. Both Waguri and Rintaro live their best lives as individuals and as a happy couple. In fact, they're so happy that it's kinda actually making me sick now. Thank God the show is over. And that's the end. Whew, now I don't have to feel lonely anymore. Anyway, drop a like if you enjoyed it, and please subscribe, because I want to keep making these videos. Alright, peace!